Okay, people, welcome back to episode 4, that is episode 4 of the Yank, Kiwi podcast. With you guys today is your host, Brett, the handsome and charismatic one.
More like the idiot one who fucked up.
Okay.
Tell them what you did.
Yes.
Tell them what you did.
Okay, yes, I take full responsibility for this.
Shame. Insert bell ringing. Shame. Just insert audio of that from Game of Thrones here.
You know, we should probably figure out how we could do that sort of gimmick, because that'd be awesome. That would really spice up the podcast.
Dude, instead of the ordinary intro, put audio of that shame thing on repeat for like 30 seconds. All right. We'll finish the introduction actually. Sam, obviously the annoying and funny one who never shuts up, and our guest, good friend Deantay.
Hello again, everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
You will probably know him from Deantay's Projects, which is a channel you guys honestly need to be watching.
Yes. And if any listeners used to watch our streams, Deantay was on once or twice.
I believe he was.
But yeah. So Brett, confess.
Yes.
Confess!
Yes. Now, what happened was, I assumed that OBS the settings were all copacetic. I did not bother to check to see if it was set for the desktop audio or the mic audio. And so we recorded 3.5 hours of total silence, and so much good material is completely lost to the ether, especially this one good rant I went on about Train about how I fucking hate their fucking ukulele and fuck that fucking song, Hey Soul Sister. Because I still hear that song on the fucking radio to this day.
That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
And what is funny about that is Brett did not even know that song... Ain't that lyric, ain't that Mr. on the radio, was referencing an actual band. Because by that point, they were just that irrelevant. Which is why I can't bring myself to hate the song, because I find it so hilarious that they referenced fucking Mr. at that point when no one knew or cared who they were.
And about the only one of us who actually does have any memory of Mr. and whether that's a blessing or a curse.
I think Deantay, you remembered who they were, Deantay.
Yeah, I do. And they actually have a song on Vice City on one of the radio stations.
Yes, that's how I know who they are, and it's the worst song in that game.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Sam, the Saints Row 2 has the Simple Minds song, Don't You Forget About Me.
Oh, that's a bad song. The GTA games actually didn't have many bad songs in them.
No, the odd one would creep up now and then.
Yeah. Like even say San Andreas, which probably has the fewest radio stations that play music I like. Even the music I don't like is decent music. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 4 and the Rock Station. I was actually blown away when I found out that the Rock Station was DJ'd by none other than Iggy fucking Pop.
Yeah. Did you ever listen to the the talk radio stations in GTA 4?
Yeah, I did. That was actually kind of fun. And I remember...
Did you recognize Jim Norton shows up on that at one point?
Oh, wow. I think I remember there being one segment which was basically a parody of Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. I think it was GTA 4. Patrice O'Neill was on one of the radio stations at one point. A bunch of people like that were been in GTA games. Yeah, I got to admit that half the time when playing the really good GTA games, I listen to the talk stations instead because they're really funny.
Yeah, they were good.
The Vice City one is particularly hilarious, where it's poking fun at all the moral majority nuttiness of the time.
And the Viking guy, I forget his name.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Thor.
GTA
That's why I
Vice
couldn't
City.
Thor.
All right, GTA Vice City is like got to be in the top 3 funniest games ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would be. All right. So,
Speaking of funny things,
yes, the subject of this week's podcast, which if you
we're skipping to the subject. I for one can't be fucked going through the what have we been watching lately thing again. That whole fucking palaver.
well, we already kind of shot the shit anyway.
Not that I mind doing that. It's just goddamn.
Yeah. Besides, all it's gonna do is me just basically repeating what I said about a Rammstein song.
Yeah. So let's just
Yes. If you were paying attention last
I
week,
can't speak for everyone else, but I can say Brett and I, we have said this, kind of feel like we struck lightning in a bottle yesterday.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this turns out. And we're not going to just try and do precisely what we did yesterday because that will be terrible.
And impossible.
It'll go in its own direction. But yes.
Yes. Now, as I was saying, if you were paying attention last week, you will recall that Sam and I were going to do an episode dedicated to The Simpsons, specifically seasons 1 through 10, which are considered by many, ourselves included, to be the best years of The Simpsons. The Simpsons is one of our favorite shows. It is a show that is near and dear to so many people, and we wanted to share with you our memories, our favorite episodes, what endeared the show to us, all that fucking jazz.
And a little bit of discussion about the later years and where it went wrong, but that's not going to be the emphasis by any means.
No.
Because I don't want the emphasis to be on the shitty parts of my favorite TV show. Because those first 10 seasons, my favorite TV show ever. Shame about the rest.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, let's begin with...
But by the way, I just have to remind you guys, something that I mentioned as being one of the worst things and being when I realized I could not watch new episodes of The Simpsons anymore, that I forced Brett and Deantay to see because they did not remember it. Does anyone remember the episode in season 21? I'm talking to listeners here.
Oh, no.
Where the couch gag was a version of the opening credits,
Christ, that was
but with
horrible.
Kesh's TikTok. It's the worst thing.
Oh my
god! It makes you want to commit
neither
suicide.
of these two. Yeah. So neither of these two knew of this until I mentioned it in our first attempt, and I linked it to them, and I think. I wouldn't be surprised if a pipe bomb shows up in my letterbox at some point for it.
Well, you'll know who to blame depending on the return address.
I mean, if it's a pipe bomb, it's probably you. If it's a nail bomb, it's probably Deantay. Deantay's more sadistic. And if it's a mini nuke, then it's definitely the two of you ponged your resources.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Remote detonated mini nuke.
Oh, Christ,
Everyone blames North Korea. World War III happens. Deantay survives. Deantay is the only survivor along with Sue Bradford, and the two of you have to repopulate the Earth together.
No, I'm out. I'd kill myself. I'll be out.
Okay. I will be kind. You and Paula Bennett.
No. For
those of you who do not know New Zealand politics, Sue Bradford is basically the most obnoxious and terrible nanny state leftist politician we have. And Paula Bennett is like a soulless, greed-filled neoliberal, everything's about profit kind.
In other words, she's basically the Kiwi Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I'd
say she would be.
I guess, yeah. Fatter, not quite as old or quite as ugly, but still pretty terrible.
Wait, she's fatter and somehow less ugly than Hillary Clinton? That is some achievement.
Like, I mean, her face looks like a potato, but Hillary Clinton's face is like terrifying.
True. But looks like she looks like Gollum in a pantsuit.
Hillary Clinton has permanently killed my ability to get an erection.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, no, actually, that was Helen Clark. God. That's gonna go over the heads of so many people.
Okay.
I have to wonder how many of those poor kids in Africa that she's worked with since she joined the UN. She's left now, thankfully, but how many of them have just still wake up with nightmares about her fucking face? Seriously, I cannot think of more. Wow.
Shit.
It's very hard to think of a more unappealing face than Helen Clark's face.
Oh, God.
Sorry, Deantay, yours doesn't even come close to being that unappealing.
Thanks, I think.
Oh, we're already off track. Shit.
All right, so before we completely lose the plot, as is our
Right.
custom,
Let's have one thing. Let's I think it bears repeating. Since no one had heard it, we should go over how we got into The Simpsons again.
all right. And since Deantay is our guest, he has the floor first.
Yeah, and he was the one who did it soonest because he is like 12 years older than Brett.
And
Yes,
No,
we
10
need
years
to bring
older.
that back up.
What am I talking about? But yes.
10 years older. Pretty
Yeah,
much I was
14
there
than
from
me.
the beginning when
Shit.
it was its own show.
Yeah, because everyone was talking
I didn't
about it, right?
actually, yeah, lots of kids were talking about it. I didn't actually start watching it right away. As soon as
Yeah.
they started talking about it, I got into it, started watching it, and just took off from there. That was back
Yeah.
in 1990.
Do you remember what the first episode you saw was?
Oh, crap. No, I do not. I think it was the one when Bart cheated and he got
Oh,
put
yeah.
into the bigger school because he took
That's-
Martin's answers.
Yeah, that's a fucking good one. He gets into
Yeah.
the gifted school
That's it. Yeah, that was it.
and is miserable. He just wants to die. But the genius.
He does
So,
nearly kill everyone at the end anyway.
Yeah. That's an early season. No, that's second episode.
Was it? Oh.
Really?
Well, that
Second
was
episode
I'm
of-
pretty sure that was my first one.
Yeah,
That's
second
how I got
episode of
into it.
season 1. It aired January 14th, 1990 in America. So if we were getting that sometime in 1990, that was, especially for then, surprisingly early to get it. For those who don't know, even now in New Zealand, we often don't get shows for a year or two. Certainly, we're normally a year or two behind for seasons.
Unless they're really, really popular.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising. But yeah.
all right. So
Brett.
yes. Now my story with The Simpsons is, well, I grew up in a house that did not have cable until I was 10 years old. Most of the television my brother and I watched was videos either we already owned or videos that my parents brought back from the video store, which is something a lot of you youngsters who've grown up with your Netflixes and your tablets and all your mobile streaming devices are not gonna
Yeah.
know.
Now, I mentioned this when we last attended this, but I think it's worth saying again just because it really shows how behind the town I live in is. There was a Blockbuster still here as recently as 2 years ago, maybe 3. No one ever went, but it still existed.
I gotta wonder
crazy.
how people. I gotta feel sorry for anyone who went to work there.
I swear, like, it must have been the last Blockbusters in New Zealand. Because everywhere else had gotten rid of them like 4 or 5 years ago, if not more.
Yeah, the internet pretty much killed those stores.
Well,
Yeah.
internet and bad business decisions.
And bad business decisions.
Yeah. And stocking nothing that anyone cared about.
Yeah.
Or very little. I gotta say, like, porn probably kept them afloat for a while, and then everyone got good internet connections, and then fuck knows what kept them afloat for, from 2005 on.
God, yeah. Oh man, actually, while we're on that subject, there was in my neighborhood on Pack Avenue, in one of the plazas. Now, Pack Avenue, for those of you who don't live in Tacoma, that's what we call Pacific Avenue.
Right.
It's one of the busiest streets in town. But yeah, one of the plazas on Pack Avenue, there was an abandoned Hollywood video, which I had not seen in over 15 years.
God, I don't think we ever got Hollywood video here, but that I know of it.
Yeah, like I said, the building was there, had the sign, everything. Building was completely empty, and they tore it down a few months ago and put up a Wendy's in its place. So,
something useful.
good trade-off.
I like Wendy's.
Yeah. So yeah, did not have cable until I was 10 years old, and even then,
the Blockbusters that was here is now a secondhand store.
That's better.
And something funny is that I mentioned porn, and I don't think I ever saw anyone, because we used to go there quite a bit, and I don't think I ever saw anyone go in or out of the adult section.
Wow.
And yet it was like a third of the store.
Damn. All right, but no.
But yeah, it may not be representative of other video stores in other places though. I'm sure in Auckland or Wellington I'm sure in Hamilton that was literally the only thing that anyone ever went to a store like that for.
Yeah, knowing Hamilton wouldn't surprise me.
Is Hamilton still the gonorrhea capital of New Zealand, I wonder?
As far as I know.
Wait, so you're telling me New Zealand has its own version of Portland?
Hamilton is a city of bogans, basically.
Okay, so not quite.
It's a city of bogans and poor Pacific Islanders, Polynesians, and Maori. Basically. Like, if you were going through it on a train and there's a stop, you would want to spend as little time as possible there because, like, you might catch something just from the air. Almost.
Okay, so it's not quite like Portland.
It's probably possibly worse in this respect.
Yeah, because Portland will at least say it's got art and culture.
I mean, Hamilton has races, I think, car races and shit, but that's about it.
Yep.
But okay, moving back along. Now, like I said, I did not have cable until I was 10 years old, and even then, really was not allowed to watch it because I grew up the son of a pastor. So The Simpsons was not really allowed in our house.
Yeah.
Now, when I turned about, I would say 13 or 14, I think this was around the time when my dad kind of knew that my brother and I were sort of past the age he could tell us what to do. And just
fuck you! I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you! I'm sorry. That was terrible. I'm sleep deprived.
Yes, he is. So the best he could do is just hope that we make good decisions. So because my dad worked a lot. When my brother and I got back from school, one day we noticed the Simpsons were on the local Fox station where we lived in Michigan. And it was just kind of one thing led into the other, and for a while, watching the Simpsons after school was like one of our traditions.
And when would this have been?
Like I said,
like about what year?
if I was 13 or 14, it would have been around, I want to say, 2003, 2004.
Okay, so it was well in its decline, but it hadn't. Well, it hadn't. It was kind of watchable sometimes, at least.
It was starting to take its nosedive around that time.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, most of what we were watching were reruns of old episodes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact,
So you'd have seen.
In fact, I can remember one year in October, it was a whole month of nothing but Treehouse of Horror episodes. That was
Nice.
probably the best October of my life.
I have a confession to make. I like the Treehouse of Horror episodes, but they are not amongst my favorites. Most people seem to like really, really, really love them like more than the most normal episodes. I like them, but I don't like them nearly as much as the normal episodes generally. No one's gonna lambast me over that opinion.
No, not really.
Yeah, well, you're the guy who has to have the controversial opinion anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know.
Someone's got to do it.
I think it's just the three stories.
The whole anthology thing.
They just couldn't flesh them out quite as much as they could in the other normal episodes.
They're not supposed to. I mean, like, it's just more an excuse for the writers to get a little self-indulgent.
Yeah, I know. I like them, but they just I don't find them as funny generally. Although I do really like the one where Homer goes into the wall and goes into the fourth dimension or whatever it is. That's pretty fucking funny, that segment.
Now, as a little anecdote to add to my story, my 9th grade English teacher probably also played a big part in me getting into the Simpsons because this lady.
Huge fan.
This lady was a massive Simpsons fan. She had a poster in the classroom that had all the characters on it. She had a book that was that went through all the episodes. That was basically seasons 1 through 8, I believe. Because the last episode of that was The Secret War of Lisa Simpson, the one where Bart and Lisa go to military school.
Yeah, that was in season 8, but I don't believe that was at the end of season 8.
Well, it was the last episode in the book, so don't quote me on that. And another book she had was basically a traveler's guide to Springfield.
Right. Now I can't think what the last episode of season 8 was. To Google.
The Google.
Because it might have been that one, but I want to say that one wasn't.
I'll pull it up, Sam. How about you tell us?
No, it was. It was. I was incorrect. It was the last episode of season 8. I don't know why. But I mean, I don't know why I thought it came earlier.
Okay, well, so with that out of the way, I guess now it's left us for Sam to tell us his story with The Simpsons.
Yeah, I guess I have like the least. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Not the least. I probably had the most convoluted way of coming to The Simpsons. I too was not allowed to watch The Simpsons. My mother, not a religious person, did not deem it appropriate for children, and yet I was. Let me just. I was allowed to watch some far less child-appropriate shows than that.
Like.
I'm getting to it. I was not allowed to watch that, but I was allowed to watch things like Frasier and Veronica Mars. Gilmore Girls too. When was that show? When did that start? I just want to get the timeline right so you guys realize. Yes, okay.
2002, wasn't it?
Gilmore Girls started. I don't remember when I was watching it because it.
2000,
No!
2007.
I probably was. We probably got it 0102. So I was allowed to watch that when I was about 6, 7. A show that, well, sex plays a part in that. They talk about that. And more bizarrely, Veronica Mars, which 2004, in which I think actually we got near the tail end of 2004 here, which was deemed appropriate for 9-year-old me, whilst The Simpsons was not. A show in which the first episode reveals, and I distinctly recall watching this first episode with my mum, that the main character's 2 main missions in life at this point are to find out who brutally murdered her best friend and who raped her at a party. Totally more child-friendly than The Simpsons, right?
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
That is, man.
I actually remember watching an episode of The Simpsons with my uncle at my grandparents' place, and Mum coming in. And Mum had got there to pick me up coming in and telling me that I wasn't allowed to watch this. So why was I watching this? This was Simpsons. I don't remember the episode. So I'd caught episodes here and there. Dad didn't give a fuck. He didn't really give a fuck what I watched. All that. But I didn't. It was fine. It wasn't a show I loved. And then when I was 11 or 12 in intermediate school in computing class, we got a set thing to do a PowerPoint on to teach us to do PowerPoint presentations. And it was The Simpsons. And since I didn't know much about it, I got to doing research, found out, oh, this old stuff is considered really, really, really good. Huh. Looked up episodes, went, oh, this one. Found Bart the murderer, the one where he gets a job working for the mob. Went, oh, this one sounds funny, and watched that. And fell in love with it and watched the whole thing. I probably got to about season 14 or 15 before I went, yeah, fuck this. So that's kind of my story. It's not particularly interesting, but it's quite convoluted.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So yeah.
That's the origin of how all 3 of us found The Simpsons. And
That's our Simpsons origin stories.
yeah.
Yep.
We should have done that because everyone is just sick of origin stories now. They never want to hear another one about anything. How funny would it be if some comic book writer or someone who wanted to be a comic book writer took that way too much to heart and just didn't give their superhero a fucking backstory? No one wants origin stories. Let's not do one.
Well, kind of
for this completely new character.
Kind of what's become in vogue now is that if they are going to create an original character, what they'll do is they'll just introduce him as is and sprinkle the origin little bit by little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds a little obnoxious with a brand new character. Like if they're the main character, that I'd rather a proper origin story, unless their backstory being mysterious is part of them. But that's me. That's my view, and I'm not really a comic book guy anyway.
Worst comic book ever.
Definitely not a comic book guy like that guy.
You know, funny thing is, I actually work with a guy who, I shit you not, he looks like comic book guy.
God, I was going to say, please tell me he sounds like and doesn't look like comic book guy, but no, that's far worse.
He's a cool guy,
Oh.
though. In fact, I actually told him...
To quote Skinner, oh, that's far worse.
I actually told him you should try going as comic book guy for Halloween, and he would... And I shit you not, he had no idea who comic book guy was.
How is that?
Like he doesn't watch The Simpsons.
Wow.
But how is that Oh god. I guess the comic book guy even been in a Simpsons episode recently.
Recently, he got married
Really?
Okay.
to some Japanese girl.
Yeah.
Oh, of course
Oh,
he
of
did.
course they went that way. Of course, yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't go the Krieger and Archer route and have him marry a virtual anime girl.
Yeah, well, he got a geeky Japanese chick. So
How do you not murder her every day? I do. Do you remember that?
yeah.
God. Archer is so good.
Yes, it is. Now,
Anyone who isn't watching the latest series needs to be, because it's fucking awesome.
it's interesting, but yeah, to get on to the point. So the Simpsons.
We have a point.
It is a big part of pop culture, not just here in the States. It's pretty much worldwide, because there are so many words that are part of the English language that actually find their origin in The Simpsons.
Yep.
So I wasn't a big internet user when I was 11 or 12. And I still had all these phrases and all these things that I didn't know came from The Simpsons, and it blew my mind, you know. I, for one, welcome our ex-overlords. Or, meh. Which meh comes from which is in The Simpsons. But yeah.
Dough.
Don't. Yeah. There's others, but
Yeah, here's a funny thing. Dan
I'm trying to think
Castellaneta
what the
actually
others are.
saw an interview where he talked about where dough came from, and he said it came
Right.
from a Laurel and Hardy bit where
Okay.
one of the guys went duel. He thinks he was trying to come up with something that sounded like damn but wasn't exactly damn, because it was Laurel and Hardy, and back in those days you couldn't say
Censorship.
Yep, you couldn't say swear words, so he kind of just took that from that Laurel and Hardy bit and just made it dough. Because what happened was, in the script they just wrote annoyed grunt. They didn't give him anything to work with, and so he just sort of made that up.
Is that where annoyed grunt being in the title of that
Yep.
Mary Poppins parody episode comes from?
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, I think Dan
I-
Castellaneta said to this day the writers still put annoyed grunt in instead of dough.
It has occurred to me that I have literally no clue what any of the actors who voice anyone in The Simpsons, other than Nancy Cartwright and is it David Shearer?
Harry Shearer.
Harry Shearer. Those are the only two voice actors from The Simpsons that I have any idea what they look like. Am I alone in this? Does anyone else know what a bunch of them look like?
No, not really.
I think Dan Castellaneta is kind of balding.
I picture him as human, real-life version of Homer and how he appears, basically. Oh, shit. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Try to do it away from the mic, man. But,
Dude, the other time I muted my mic, this time it came on too fast.
So yeah, The Simpsons is a big part of pop culture worldwide. Pretty much everybody knows The Simpsons. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find a place in the world that doesn't know what The Simpsons are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Although I think you wouldn't have trouble finding people who don't know the old stuff.
yeah, that is a different story. But it's just
It's
you'd be
a very
hard-pressed-
sad story.
Yeah, but you'd be hard pressed to find hard pressed to find a person who at least doesn't know of The Simpsons.
Of course.
And I think what made those first 10 seasons so great, what made it such good television, was that for one, when The Simpsons came out, there really wasn't anything like it at the time. Like
No,
Yeah,
not back then.
pop culture at the time was a lot less daring, a lot less smart, and a lot wackier.
Yeah.
I mean, let's. What else was popular in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Well, I think if we're talking late 80s, early 90s,
Let's look at comedies.
all I can think of is Home Improvement and Married with Children.
I mean,
The
this was
Cosby Show.
dude. This was the same time that Full House was running.
Oh yeah, Full House too. I think
Which is
Seinfeld was on at the same time too, I believe.
okay. Right. Yeah. So, by the way, if a more boring sitcom than Full House exists, I've not seen it. I'm still baffled that Netflix gave it a fucking sequel
Yeah, I was
revival.
surprised to hear that. That was
Seriously, if anyone thinks Full House is terrible, watch an episode of Fuller House. It's Full House with the cast being older, with swearing and with drugs and drug references.
Oh my god. It's like they took something that was lame and made it reprehensible.
Yeah. This was a time when it was TV largely played it safe, particularly with comedies.
Yeah, but the thing about
What else was around at the same sort of time? Family Matters.
oh
You know,
god, yeah.
Urkel.
Yeah, cool. Home Improvement. Yeah, Home Improvement. Man, Home Improvement ran from 91 to 92. I didn't realize it ran that long. Saved by the Bell was another thing from that time that was popular.
I took a pop culture class my senior year, and when we got to the 90s, we had to watch an episode of Saved by the Bell.
Wow. What was the worst thing you had to see for this pop culture thing?
I'm trying to think. Let's see.
And what was the best?
Okay, let's see. When we got to the 50s, we had to watch an episode of Leave It to Beaver.
Right, that's
It's fucking corny.
boy, has that not aged well.
It's fucking corny, but you kind of have to put it in the context of its time.
Yeah, for what it was at the time, like, I'm sure I would have enjoyed it at the time, but boy, has it aged poorly.
Yeah. For the 60s, we watched the Andy Griffith Show, which was a lot better.
I've never seen any of that, but I have heard it still holds up fairly good. Well,
70s, I think 70s, we watched an episode of All in the Family.
oh, that's another one that I've heard is very good, but I've never seen.
Archie Bunker is one of the best television characters
Yeah.
of all time.
That's another one on the list.
Fucking list.
Yeah.
You just made the list!
No, I'm not explaining what the list is.
And that was my best attempt at a Chris Jericho impression.
Right, you did not. That okay. I would not have known if that's what you were going for.
Of course, Sam would not know. Sam does not watch wrestling, but Deantay knows.
I remember Jericho.
No. I'm familiar with Chris Jericho. I know what he sounds like. I'm just saying, based on the quality of the impression, I would not have known that's who you were going for.
Okay, so 70s.
What else?
70s was All in the Family.
Oh, yeah.
80s was The Cosby Show and Married with Children.
Right.
The
And
the 90s.
I have never and never will watch the Cosby Show because I don't really want to watch anything Bill Cosby has ever done again.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy Bill Cosby.
Now you can
Boy,
never
is
look
that
at him
no
the
longer
same
the
way.
case.
Now you can never look at him the same way again.
Like, so here's the thing, like, I do believe in someone's art and them being separate, but the problem with Cosby is, now that you know about this shit, you can't look at him and not just see that he is clearly a psycho just based on his eyes. Like, have you ever seen this? He has the crazy eyes. And now that we know about this shit, I'm like, oh, so that's why he has them. Anyways,
Everything makes sense.
The Cosby Show, and what was the other thing from the 80s?
Married with Children.
Right. How was that?
Well, let me put it this way: it was a study in contrast, because if the Cosby Show was supposed to be perfect, all sappy and sentimental, well,
Yeah.
Married with Children was the complete polar opposite.
Yeah, I've always heard it's a pretty good show.
Family hates each
I've
other.
never seen it.
The dad's all lazy. He's a selfish
Right.
asshole the wife constantly wants to have sex with him. The daughter's a slut. And the son is a total perv.
Right. Wait, daughter's a slut, son's a total perv. Thank God this wasn't anime.
Oh God.
It's just yeah. In fact,
Right.
Married with Children, actually, to dovetail into Matt Groening's work, that was the early career of Katie Sagal, whom you guys probably remember as the voice of Leela from Futurama.
Barely.
Yeah.
I never got into Futurama. I tried. Boy, did I try, but that show never did it for me. Not saying it's a bad show, it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, and then we got to the 90s and it was Saved by the Bell, and well, we pretty much had to make up what the 2000s were, because that was supposed to be our generation.
So what did you do for that? What did you make up for that?
Well, I got the music part of it. The kids who got the television part, they put on The Daily Show.
Can I just say, I know it's popular for people to say, yeah, it sucks now, but with Jon Stewart, it was really funny. No, it wasn't. Jon Stewart wasn't funny either. Jon Stewart is a hack. It was less unfunny, but it was still unfunny.
So yeah, for television they did The Daily Show. What else? I want to say, I'm not gonna say Friends, because Friends was more of a 90s.
That was 90s, yeah.
What else? What was popular? I want to. Maybe it was How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of iconic pop culture shows from the 2000s that weren't serialized sort of prestige dramas.
A lot of people say Eight Simple Rules, but the only reason that was remembered was because of what happened to John Ritter. As the show itself, it wasn't that good.
Oh yeah.
I don't even. I'd forgotten that show even existed.
Yeah, Eight Simple. Yeah, it was like the also another thing Katie Sagal was in. But yeah.
I mean, there was some good cartoons from that early mid 2000s, but in terms of stuff that wasn't just for kids, it's really hard to think of really iconic shows that started in that period.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, hell, I mean, even the 2010s had more iconic shows. I mean, like the 2010s had Archer, had Adventure Time.
Yeah. Well, no, for cartoons there was plenty in the earlier 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm thinking aside from that, stuff that wasn't just for kids.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you had, but I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I mean, I could try throwing in that 70s show, but that was more running on nostalgia. That really didn't kind of capture this
Who
sort of.
remembers that show fondly these days? No one seems to remember that show.
No.
It's not very good. I suppose, and I really hate to say it, but I suppose The Big Bang Theory and Two and a Half Men would count. They're terrible shows, but they were iconic.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I guess. But yeah.
If you get into, it's much easier to think of cult shows that have become iconic in a cult classic kind of way from the 2000s. So stuff like Veronica Mars or Gilmore Girls, or the cartoons, Teen Titans and Samurai Jack and that kind of thing.
Well, Malcolm in the Middle had a good run for a while.
Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle started with the late 90s, but yeah, it was all. I guess you could say it was the late 90s, but I think you could say it was very also emblematic of the 2000s.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't I don't think I could ever get into that show as a kid, and I haven't tried since. But I kind of get the impression I should try, because it seems like I might dig it now.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that was.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise it shows like Mad Men and sort of earlier examples of prestige shows that spring to mind, but it's kind of not really what you kind of mean when you're doing pop culture studies, but or generally, I guess.
Well,
but it's really hard to think of things.
But yeah, The Simpsons. I think we were supposed to watch an episode of The Simpsons for the 90s, but I don't know why my teacher decided to go with Saved by the Bell instead, because
probably assumed that everyone had seen a 90s episode of The Simpsons, but none of you were fucking nerdy and dorky enough to have seen Saved by the Bell.
And you know what? I mean, like, I wouldn't even say Saved by the Bell captured the 90s. That's what a bunch of TV executives thought the 90s were about.
If you want a show that was silly and goofy that was very 90s and iconic and captured that, I mean, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would have been a better choice.
Yeah. Oh.
And it's a better show. It's a flawed show. It's not perfect, but it's an entertaining show.
Yeah, true.
I still think it holds up surprisingly well. Again, it's not a great show. It has the flaws that were kind of... It has the flaws of being a standard sitcom of the time, albeit a smarter, more charismatic one, but it's still kind of... It's not perfect.
No.
By any means. Although, I will say, that part where Tom Jones shows up and is fucking Carlton's guardian angel...
Yeah, that's
it's hilarious.
That is genius. Yeah, so the Simpsons what really helped the Simpsons was that there wasn't anything else like it at the time, especially considering that putting an animated series in a primetime slot that really had not been done before. Except, I mean, you might want to say the Flintstones kind of did that back in the 60s.
Yeah, good point. What about the Smurfs?
Yeah, but is
the Smurfs primetime-y thing?
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah.
I don't know when the Smurfs aired.
But yeah, shows like I said, show like The Simpsons airing in a primetime slot that was very new. It was very different for it to really stand out. But
all I know about the Smurfs is that even when I was a kid, that show did not hold up. So I can't imagine how badly it must have aged by now, 10 plus years later. Who wants to watch an episode of the Smurfs and then do an episode on it?
Oh my god.
Not
the
me.
Smurfs are evil. I don't want to watch them.
We'll keep that in the maybe pile.
No, let's keep that in the hell no, because as Deantay said, the Smurfs are evil. They will eat your soul via TV. Like, you'll watch an episode and it will eat your soul.
In other words, Gargamel was doing us all a disservice, or at least trying to.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
it is a very twisted show because it's all the Smurfs from male, then they get, Smurfette, and then a couple of episodes, there's a bunch of kids running around. It's like, what the fuck?
They've just made her their fucking breeding.
That's what it seemed like.
Slave.
I remember this one episode of the Venture Brothers.
I guarantee you, there are a ton of really horrifying fucking doujin of them just how those children came into being.
I'm pretty sure if you go on rule34.net, you'll find it. Don't Google it, anyone who's watching. You'll regret it.
Jesus.
Oh God, the Smurfs. God damn it.
But yeah.
That show just... No, not good. So yeah, that show makes Hanna-Barbera cartoons seem like they aged well. And sorry, Deantay, I know they were part of your childhood, I'm sure, but those shows are shit now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that.
Although, I will say this, He-Man can be entertainingly shit. The others, not so much.
All right, so...
There was so much cocaine involved in making those shows.
So,
I'm not even kidding. There apparently was, and it shows.
really,
Well, coming out of the 70s, what do you expect?
Yeah, it especially shows with He-Man. Only Cocaine could have produced half of that show. It's insane that.
oh, the 80s.
Also, it can be hilarious to watch, like, randomly picked episodes of random Hanna-Barbera cartoons, because after like 2 or 3, you will land on something with the most hilariously terrible animation you've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And it will make your eyes bleed, but it will also make you die from laughter.
Okay, so back to the Simpsons. It was a different show. It was very different for the time. Yeah. There wasn't anything else like it on TV when it first came out. But I think that was what got people's attention initially. But what really endeared it was that the show was very smartly written, had characters that were very wacky, but also very human at the same time.
Yeah.
And the show had
heart. By the way, just to be clear, when I say the Hanna-Barbera stuff sucks, I'm talking about like the 80s stuff. Like what Tom and Jerry isn't shit. That was them, right? Tom and Jerry? Cat and mouse thing. That wasn't shit, but boy, they did make some terrible stuff.
Yeah, they did.
Although, like, I think they did. Did they do Powerpuff Girls later? I think they might have done some of that stuff.
That wasn't them. That was all the network stuff.
No, why did I think that? No, because were they even existing then? I don't know.
I don't know. No idea. But yeah, like I said, that what endeared people to The Simpsons was that it was a show that was that had a lot of intelligence. It had characters that were wacky but also human, and it had heart.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
If you think about it, I'm gonna have to bring up what is considered one of the worst episodes, and unfortunately,
Deantay.
Yes.
Before this, Deantay, you were wrong. Yes. Powerpuff Girls was produced by Hanna-Barbera.
Wow.
It was co-produced by Cartoon Network from 2002 to 2005. Dexter's Lab was also co-produced with Cartoon Network by Hanna-Barbera, as was Johnny Bravo. Also,
there you go, then.
Do you want to remember something? You know, it was terrible thing.
What?
That will probably not surprise anything that they produced.
What?
They co-produced the Dumb and Dumber cartoon.
Oh my lord, that was a thing.
Oh Jesus Christ!
That was a thing.
Yes, 95 to 96. Did you not know this, Brett?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Did you know this, Deantay?
Yeah, because Jim Carrey got a bunch of crappy fucking animated shit from his movies, like The Mask and Ace Ventura and all that.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any of it, Deantay?
Unfortunately, I did watch an episode from each at least.
I've seen a couple of episodes from the Dumb and Dumber one out of morbid curiosity.
It's horrible.
Brett.
Yeah.
Like, you may think it sounds like it would be hilariously bad.
It's not.
No. It will just make you want to kill yourself.
Yep.
Oh my.
It is probably looking at looking at the list of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, it might be the worst thing they ever produced.
Damn. Yeah.
Oh God.
But speaking of things that are bad.
Dude, here's something that happened in the 70s. Josie and the Pussycats in outer space.
That does not surprise me.
No, but God, that sounds hilariously terrible. But yeah, we're going to talk about the episode that sucks, aren't we? Yes. And this is why I'm postponing it, because I don't want to talk about this episode.
Let's just get on with it and then it's done.
But there's a point to this. I have a point to this. Now, this episode is in the golden age of The Simpsons, unfortunately, but I think
It doesn't exist.
but I think the way the fans reacted to it, I think says a lot about just how good the show had been up to that point and how people identify with the characters. Now, this is the principal and the pauper, where we find out that the principal,
Which is actually Brett's favorite episode. He's just lying about it.
Yes, Sam is correct, but yes. In this episode, we find out that the principal, Seymour Skinner, that we had been following for about 8 seasons up to that point, was in fact an imposter. And everyone who had sense reacted to it poorly. In fact, Matt Groening has gone on the record, it's actually printed on the Season 8 DVD cover, that this is one of his least favorite episodes.
Season 9. I'm out in Season 9, not Season 10. Have you ever listened to the commentary of that episode?
No, I have not.
That's well worth listening to. They basically all admit that it's fucking terrible. They wanted to try something new, but it did not work out.
Yes.
I actually, after we did our little take yesterday, I went back and I read about that episode. There's actually an episode further down the track which completely obliterates that one. It doesn't exist anymore.
It retcons it, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that show, because that episode gets ignored afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then gets retconned.
The thing, but what was, like I said, audiences reacted to it very poorly. In fact, also Harry Shearer was quoted. Harry Shearer's the voice.
He was
of
mad at
Principal
that.
Skinner. Yeah, Harry Shearer's the voice of Principal Skinner, just to be clear, as well as several other characters like Mr. Burns, Reverend Lovejoy. I think also Mo. And I think also Apu. But yeah, Harry Shearer said you can't do this. You can't take a character that people have been following for 8 or 9 years and then all of a sudden just change everything. It's disrespectful. It's like you're punishing the audience for paying attention.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, dude.
But just think about that. People reacted that strongly to it because we had spent so much time with these characters. Like, we'd seen so much that Principal Skinner had already gone through. Saw him. All the hijinks he would get up to with Bart, or Bart would put him through. We saw him get into a relationship with Mrs. Krabappel, and we saw him struggle to find meaning when he got fired as the principal for Springfield Elementary, and we've also seen him get constantly accosted by Superintendent Chalmers. And we also hear about all the shit he went through when he was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've been following all these characters, not just Principal Skinner, for so long that they all feel like people we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's because the Simpsons cast was just so well realized, so well developed. Because, like I said, they are people that are wacky, they're quirky, they have eccentricities, but they still feel very human.
Yeah, that was a big blunder when they did that.
Yeah,
It was really, really, really poorly conceived.
Yes, that notwithstanding, but the point I'm getting at is just that we've spent so much time with these characters.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like we're part of Springfield in a way.
Yeah. And Skinner was always such a straight person. You know, was one word I'm looking for was just so straightforward. There was nothing really to him, but that was the character you liked. He was always sort of the perfect role model in a way.
Or someone who thought he was. He was a square.
Yeah.
Basically.
Or then you got like Ned Flanders, who originally wasn't created just to be a foil for Homer. Like, he was supposed to be the perfect neighbor to show just how bad of a person Homer was.
Yeah.
That's why he annoyed Homer.
Indeed.
And then you got Bart, who was just, I mean, like, what kid grew up watching The Simpsons and didn't want to be Bart?
I didn't. But I guess a lot of people did. I don't know. I don't think I ever wanted to be any of the characters in the show. I just really liked.
Fair enough.
But you get the point. But you get my point, though.
Yeah, yeah.
These are some of the best characters that television ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them just get discarded so fast over the years as well, which was quite sad.
Yeah, most of the most interesting ones I don't think get much, or most entertaining ones. So people like Uta, who never had much in the first place, but every time he had a line or something, it was fucking hilarious.
Or then there's Ralph, who's just, I mean, like, he started as being this kid who may or may not have been autistic or retarded or God knows what was up with him, but there was still some depth to him. Like that one episode where he thinks he's dating Lisa because Lisa decides to give him a Valentine's to be nice to him because no one else did.
Yeah.
Did he thinks he's dating her, or does he actually ask her out? And I think they actually are dating because she feels sorry for him.
No, I think I remembered it wrong. Yeah, what happens is, he takes it a little too seriously, and because Lisa doesn't want to hurt his feelings.
I think he thinks she's his girlfriend. And then he asks her on a date, and she goes. To that because he had his
like I said, she just doesn't want to hurt his feelings.
Yeah, but I also think the event he invited her to, she already wanted to go to, but couldn't get tickets to, or something like that.
It was that crusty anniversary special, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had tickets and she couldn't get them because there were no more tickets.
And then he announced it to the world that she was his girlfriend, and that's when she
breaks up with him.
Destroyed him in front of everyone on national TV.
You can actually see the moment where his heart breaks.
And now.
Bart taking great pleasure at it because, of course, he is. He's Bart.
Yeah, and then of course we also got Homer, who kind of an idiot, but he's a good person. Deep down, he's trying to do right for his family.
There's a theory that part of why The Simpsons went downhill, or a large part of it, was the phenomenon of jerk Homer. That is, where Homer progressively, in season 9, 10, and onwards, progressively became more and more of a jerk.
Yeah.
And lost many of his redeeming features. Now, he was in jerk mode by late season 9, and is still so in season 10, but the show as a whole was well written enough that it still worked. Mostly, season 9 and 10. But after that, he becomes just this irredeemably dickheadish piece of shit, to the point where he accidentally kills Maud Flanders and doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this sounds like something that would have been done in Family Guy.
He becomes a Family Guy character, or the prototype for Family Guy characters. That is to say, bitter, selfish, grumpy jerkasses.
Yeah, in fact, while we're on that...
He's a poopy head.
While we're on that...
Yes, I intentionally picked a ridiculous thing.
Yeah, while we're on that note, for better or for worse, The Simpsons is why Family Guy exists.
Yeah.
For worse. Much, much, much for worse.
I think I remember hearing someone describe Family Guy as its sense of humor is basically being a mean guy in a mean world.
It's a mean wannabe version of The Simpsons crossed with Dennis Miller by someone who doesn't actually understand what made either good or understand comedy,
Yep.
except as an abstract concept.
And unfortunately, it seemed like because Family Guy sort of took off like a rocket. Because it seemed
There have been so many shows like that since.
Yeah. Well, not just that. It's also like The Simpsons, as if to keep up with Family Guy, had to start imitating it.
Yeah.
If you watch a Simpsons episode these days, it doesn't feel like The Simpsons.
It feels like Family Guy light.
Even during the mid-2000s when the steep decline began, so it had been mediocre for several years by that point. But even then, around 04, 05, it still felt like The Simpsons, albeit not very well written Simpsons, but it still felt like the same show. Cut to 2010 or so, and it's unrecognizable as The Simpsons. I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I'd have to take your word on that.
I'm just going to go and say Simpsons is basically Family Guy light at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I never have to think about Family Guy again, it will be too soon to think about it.
Didn't it get cancelled again? Oh, no, that was Futurama. So, no, that was Futurama. They got cancelled again.
Yeah.
Did they start Futurama again at some point?
No.
They did for a little while.
They didn't.
Okay.
They added on Comedy Central for a while, but then now it's all on Netflix. But yeah, as for Family Guy, it got canceled one time,
I see.
and then they aired reruns on Adult Swim, and that somehow got it back. And now it's here to fucking stay.
I want to go back in time and shoot whomever got that show renewed.
Or you could just go back in time and get Seth MacFarlane on that plane he was supposed to be on during 9/11.
Oh my god. Was he meant to be on one of the planes that crashed into it?
I believe so, but he missed it because he was hungover.
Oh, then I would replace all his alcohol with non-alcoholic versions, then yes. And I would make sure he got on it. Or alternatively, Seth MacFarlane actually is talented in one area.
Yeah, he's a good
What's
singer.
that?
Yeah. I would go back in time and convince him to become a singer instead of a comic. I'll save my getting historical figures killed for killing Canes. That was that's going to go over most people's heads, isn't it?
It definitely went over my head, but Deantay apparently knows what it is.
John Maynard Keynes,
Oh.
The Economist.
Yes, John Maynard. Oh,
I'll kill him in Marx.
I've always heard it pronounced as Keynes.
No, it's Keynes, because it's British. Keyne,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
know.
pronounced
I know what you're
Keynes.
talking about. It's just like I've always heard it pronounced as Keynes.
I have never heard it pronounced as Keynes, so
Oh,
okay.
neither have I. Oh, there you go.
Okay, but
But yeah.
that was basically The Simpsons. It was a show that was very different, had a lot of heart, had really great characters. I think at this point we should just start talking about what our favorite episodes of the show were.
Right. You guys go first. I'll be back in a...
Alright.
Okay.
Alright, so Deantay.
Yes.
What are some-
Well, if one had to be my favorite, it would be definitely the Scorpio episode. I absolutely loved that one with Homer Simpson, that new company. I forget the name of it, but he becomes almost the head guy. He's really popular with everybody. Plus, he gets James Bond killed, which is just classic.
Yeah. Alright, James Bond stand-in.
Yeah. I just really, really enjoyed that episode. I think that was the last episode that I really, really liked without actually questioning it. because from there it started to go down a bit hell for me. But yeah, I'd say it was definitely that episode there.
For me, though, favorite episode is definitely going to be Mother Simpson, just because there was just so much heart in that episode, and Glenn Close was just so good as Mona.
Yeah, she was.
I didn't know that was Glenn Close until you mentioned it last night.
That ending gets me every time.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Ending.
It's a fucking good episode. Yes.
What would you say your favorite episode is, Sam?
I don't have one. I can't pick an episode. This is literally impossible. I cannot pick a favorite. I can pick multiple favorites. If you mean a favorite that springs to mind, I can do that. But if you mean the all-time favorite, I could not.
A favorite that springs to mind will do just fine.
Yeah.
Itchy and Scratchy Land, because I watched that yesterday again, so we'll go with that one. Shall we?
It's a really fun parody of Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's much better than Jurassic Park.
What? Heathen, heretic, blasphemer.
I mean, I don't like Spielberg, so I think the Indiana Jones, those original 3 movies are like the only Spielberg movies I like. Oh, Tintin wasn't bad.
What about E.T.?
E.T. is fucking awful. E.T. is so schmaltzy and cheesy, and it tries so hard to manipulate you into feeling something, but it's so cheesy and blatant that it makes you want to puke. I hate Spielberg. He's so manipulative. Spielberg movies are so blatantly manipulative and so fucking see the world in they see the world with all the nuance of a retarded child. A retarded 5-year-old.
I don't even want to know what you think of Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's
Saving
List.
Private Ryan is tedious, boring, schmaltzy. It's shite. And Schindler's List can only be considered one of the greatest movies of all time if you view it as a comedy. Schindler's List becomes so overwrought that it is funny. Literally, I laughed harder during at the end where he breaks down and starts crying, goes, I could have saved more! And it's so on the nose and so over the top and so overwrought and so unsubtle. I laughed harder at that than I have laughed at almost any comedy movie.
I thought the part that was gonna make you laugh is when Ray Fiennes was shooting Jews from a lookout.
Oh, that's hilarious too, because that's that literally didn't happen. There's literally the other thing that I find hilarious about Schindler's List is how much it whitewashes Oscar Schindler. And how much it goes because it can't make a notoriously sadistic camp commandant. He's not evil enough. No, we have to make him fucking shoot at. We have to do all this ridiculous shit, and we have to have him want to bang this Jewish chick, so he just beats the shit out of her constantly. It's just so ridiculous and unsubtle, and. Yeah, that movie is a good comedy.
Speaking of Spielberg and Schindler's List, this reminds me of the crossover episode The Simpsons did with the critic, and when Mr. Burns is trying to repair his image, and so he hires Mexican Spielberg and.
Right. Yes, I remember this.
Nonsense. Schindler and me are like 2 peas in a pod. We're both factory owners. We both made shells for the Nazis. But mine worked, damn it.
Deantay, you were observing the other day that they really loved making Nazi jokes, remember?
Yes. Yes, I
The
do.
Do As We Say festival that was founded by German settlers in 1946. And from Itchy and Scratchy Land, let me find this precise quote.
Oh boy, this is gonna be great.
This is my favorite gag from it, and one of my favorite gags ever.
Which it's sort of taking a dig at the fact that Walt Disney was an alleged anti-Semite.
Yeah, so Roger Myers Sr. obviously standing for Disney, but here's a joke. Roger Myers Sr., the gentle genius behind Itchy and Scratchy, loved and cared about almost all the peoples of the world. And he, in turn, was beloved by the world, except in 1938, when he was criticized for his controversial cartoon, Nazi Supermen Are Our Superiors. To be clear, I would watch such a cartoon because it sounds like it would be hilarious. Oh my god, if you thought fucking goofy Zig Heiling was funny.
No, that was Donald Duck.
Oh, yes, Donald Duck. Goofy Zig Heiling actually sounds terrifying. Am I the only one who thinks that?
Donald Duck Sieg Heiling is terrifying.
Yeah.
Goofy.
Oh, I don't
The
know.
mental image of Goofy Sieg Heiling.
Heil Hitler. Yeah.
There's something bizarrely creepy about it. I don't know why. The idea.
Maybe.
You know what? Minnie Mouse would absolutely be a Nazi. Just saying. And Minnie Mouse would totally advocate for killing Goofy for sterilizing Goofy because he's a retard. Minnie Mouse, like I guarantee you that Mickey has had to talk Minnie out of fucking forcibly sterilizing Goofy in his sleep. I guarantee you this has happened. She probably has fucking just audio recordings of Hitler speeches that she listens to while she sleeps. You guys heard it here first. Minnie Mouse is a virulent Nazi. she goes out hunting Jews in her.
Have you seen what Mickey Mouse gets up to on what was it, Turkish children's television?
No.
I can't.
But let me finish. Minnie Mouse has a pickup truck that she drives around in and rounds Jews up and lets them loose in the forest and hunts them. She's convinced Goofy's a Jew, but she then discovered that he's uncircumcised whilst trying to sterilize him. Okay, so here's the question. If Minnie Mouse is the obvious Nazi in the Mickey Mouse universe, which character in the Winnie the Pooh universe is a Nazi?
Oh God. Oh.
I want to say Rabbit.
Either Rabbit or Tigger.
Tigger. Oh wait, no, that would actually work.
Really?
Tigger or Rabbit?
Tigger would work.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because he's always doing arm movements and stuff.
Oh, yep, I see it. Yeah, that I see now.
God, the mental image of Tigger Zeke Heiling. Tigger bouncing and Zeke Heiling in the middle of the air. Tigger.
Heil Hitler.
Tigger keeps trying to kill fucking Piglet because Piglet obviously has genes. Because he's a scrawny manlet.
Prepare to be emancipated from your own inferior genes.
Jokes on him though, as it turns out, Christopher Robbins is Christopher Robin is Jewish, and when he finds out, he puts Tigger in a fucking oven. This is a weird episode.
Oh, that's
And you thought our 10 minutes of the last attempt were weird.
okay.
We don't even ask who in the Simpsons universe is a Nazi. Because, I mean, the obvious answers are Mr. Burns,
Yeah.
Kent Brockman. Kent Brockman is definitely a Nazi.
Maybe Mayor
Joe Quimby is. I'm not sure about Mayor Quimby. The French waiter that Joe Quimby goes on chowder on was absolutely a Vichy regime member.
Quimby.
Freddie Quimby, that's what I mean. Joe Quimby's not even a character, is he?
Joe Quimby is the mayor.
Oh, right.
Maybe Sideshow Bob to an extent.
No, I'll tell you who is definitely one. Helen Lovejoy.
Ooh.
Definitely a
Yeah.
Nazi.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's more like a Mussolini-style fascist.
Okay, so if we've established.
Wait. So then who's Antifa
Lisa.
in The Simpsons?
It's Lisa.
Yeah. And Martin. Martin would be Antifa as well.
So,
Mr. Burns versus Martin.
oh man.
Oh god, this was a weird tangent. Now I just want to figure out who from which cartoons are Nazis.
Oh, you're gonna be here forever doing that.
Okay. Let's move on. We can do a bonus thing of it.
We'll do it.
But
We'll do a bonus thing of that later. But
let's move on.
yes. So yeah, we've got.
Great Simpsons episodes. You mentioned Star as Burns, which I don't like nearly as much as you or Deantay seem to. I think it's a fine episode, but it never quite manages to come together into being a great episode. But it's a good episode, which is
Also,
good.
And also, critic underrated as fuck.
I've only seen the one episode that Siskel and Ebert were in, and I always meant to see more because it was really funny.
Yeah, I did watch that one quite a bit.
Another great episode. The one where Marge starts painting and
Oh yes, she's got all those paintings of Ringo Starr are in the attic,
and she's got to paint Mr. Burns and make him look good.
but she can't because he's so ugly. Actually, the opening bit for that episode is also really great because Bart and Lisa just beg Homer to take them to Splashland.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, Homer's gotten so fat that he can't even get into a swimsuit, the car, and then he tries to go down the water slide and he gets stuck in it.
Yes, for sure.
Air lifted out.
What's the episode where the kids go with Patty and Selma to a park?
I think that's just
No,
just Selma.
one of them.
It's just Selma.
Yeah, just
and
Selma.
Selma takes Bart and Lisa to Duffland,
Yes.
and Bart gets Lisa.
I'm the Lizard Queen. That whole episode's great, but just that is the best. I can see colors. No, I can taste colors. That's it.
By the way, that does not happen when you get drunk.
No, but I think the joke is that it's not alcohol in there. It's some weird drug.
Some kind of hallucinogenic, probably LSD.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bart's Inner Child is another great one. Speaking of the kids and drugs or alcohol, where he accidentally gets drunk, remember?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not Bart's Inner Child.
It's
Is it?
Homer versus the 18th Amendment. It's the one.
Yes, there we go. I conflated two. Bart's Inner Child is awesome. But yes, where Bart accidentally fucking gets drunk. at the parade.
Yeah, at the St. Patty's parade, no less.
Catapulting.
And Homer becomes
And
a
Rex
beer baron.
Bannon. Rex Barron. Or is it Bannon?
Bannon.
Rex Bannon.
Also,
Second best Bannon.
Bart gets famous. That's also a good one, cause
Yeah.
and it's also
I didn't do it.
it's so fucking meta that Bart ends up on Conan O'Brien in that episode. Cause
Yes.
for those of you kiddies who don't know,
Also-
Conan used to be a writer for The Simpsons.
Yep. Also, Simpsons version of Conan looks both hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
It does.
The smile. Holy shit, that will haunt my nightmares.
And also, you guys want a good, if you guys want another good video to check out, there is a video on Conan O'Brien's channel where he gets together with some of his old friends from The Simpsons, and they talk about their memories and shit. Really worth checking out.
Yeah, I might do that.
Okay. Another great one is the cult episode in season 9,
Joyous Sect. Yes, I love.
where they join a cult.
They get over to join by singing the leader to the Batman theme song.
Yes.
And, and how they brainwash Maggie with a cult Barney.
Yeah.
I love you, you love me, we all love the leader.
I'm also a sucker for the Summer of 4 featuring 2, which is one of my favorite release episodes.
You mean 4 feet 2?
Yes. No, it's F2, like, full stop, which is featuring.
Oh.
Pretty sure.
But yeah, the one where one which really works very well because up until that point we've seen just how much of a nerd Lisa is, and just to see her try something that's just such a radical.
It's the only time that story arc has ever worked in basically anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, love. I'm not even going to try and pronounce its name, but it has the subtitle "The Mysterious Adventure of Homer" or whatever it is. The one where the Mexican fire chili.
He just goes on a
Mexican chili.
hallucinogenic drug trip from Chile.
And hallucinates a Johnny Cash voiced coyote. Then wakes up in a golf course, which was inspired by a real event where one of the writers, their friend, got drunk and woke up in a golf course 2 states over.
Of course, you guys have a story that tops that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, the story I heard of a guy who was very drunk, walked out of a bar into an alley. Some stranger offered him a pill. He bought it, he took it, and woke up in Australia the next day in a hotel. This was about 10 years ago. I don't know if it's true, but I want to believe. And didn't know he was in Australia until he tried to buy a newspaper, and the guy said, "This is New Zealand money." He's like, "Yeah," Ed looks at it, goes, "Oh."
Speaking of Australia, Bart versus Australia.
Great
Very
episode.
funny. It was hated by Australians at the time. They got butthurt about it, but boy, is
Yeah,
it
which made
funny.
it better.
Well,
Fucking love
yeah.
that.
Also, I'm pretty sure booting was an actual thing there. Like, I guarantee you booting used to be a thing they did to the Abos, and they probably outlawed it back in 08. For those of you who don't know, Australia was so ridiculously racist to the Aborigines that, like, they weren't even, like, legally recognized as humans till, like, the 60s. And then weren't allowed to vote till, like, the 80s. It's terrible. But,
Man,
like, guys, that's a bit extreme.
oh man,
I mean,
the natives out here
God
complain
damn.
about getting a raw deal from the white man.
Exactly. Dude, in Australia, like, the Abos are so fucked that, like, they drink, like, paint thinner and shit because they can't afford alcohol, some of them.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, and you thought fucking American Indians had bad alcoholism problem, had bad substance abuse issues. I heard stories of the Aborigines drinking paint thinner and all that shit. But yeah.
Wow.
No. Bart versus Australia is hilarious and it's awesome and I love it.
Another good one. Cape Fear, which I will say is the best Sideshow Bob episode.
Right. Yeah. It's up there. I still like Sideshow Bob's Last Gleaming and the episode with his brother, the Damn episode more.
Yeah, which has because Cecil's voiced by David Hyde Pierce, and they go into a whole Frasier parody.
Yes, which is great. It's become cool to rag on it as it has with many classic sitcoms, but Frasier is a really good show, and I dig that little reference there.
I'm trying to remember, was Frasier a spin-off from Cheers?
Yes.
Yep.
Although, like, they completely, like, Frasier and Frasier and Cheers are, like, only nominally the same characters. They're quite different. I mean, they're similar, but they're quite different in a lot of ways. I like Frasier and Frasier more, but I like both. Both versions work great for the shows they're in, but yeah.
Also, Sideshow Bob Roberts.
Yeah. All the classic ones up to that Damn episode are great.
Yeah.
But that was the last. I don't think there was a Sideshow Bob episode in season 9 or 10. But yeah, I could be wrong.
They should have finished it with that brother one, really.
Yeah.
Story.
For sure.
Yeah, I do remember one after season 10 that had Sideshow Bob in it. It was. What happened is that. Happens in this episode is that Homer finds out somebody is trying to kill him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so
yeah.
they end up,
one.
and so they team him up with Sideshow Bob to find the killer, and it turns out to be the son of Frank Grimes.
Yep.
Oh, that was a crap. That's right. That was crap. That episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a shame because on paper that sounds like a semi-decent, like a decent episode, but nah, it didn't turn out to be that way.
I think there was one line that got a chuckle out of me, and that was when he goes, "Wait a minute, Frank Grimes wasn't married," and his son said, "Yeah, he had a thing for hookers," or something along those lines. I got a chuckle out of it.
Right.
Speaking of which, Homer's Enemy, very dark but also very hilarious.
Yes, that's a great episode that we actually didn't mention in our previous attempt at this, but that is a great episode.
It's considered. In fact, I think it's considered one of the most mean-spirited episodes, but.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time it went mean-spirited, but it did it in a funny way rather than later on where it did that a lot and just became nasty. Like when Maud dies, that episode is just nasty and unfunny and leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. That episode I might hate more than The Principal and the Pauper, honestly.
I would think what makes Homer's Enemy works instead of the episode where Maud dies, what makes Homer's Enemy work.
What makes Homer's Enemy work is that it is actually pointing out that Homer really doesn't deserve the shit he has.
Yeah.
Like it is kind of mean-spirited and dark, but it is going Grimes has a point. Yeah. Although he can't see Homer's redeeming factor, so it's critical of everyone. It satirizes everyone in that episode.
And if also Homer is making a genuine attempt to try to be a good person throughout.
Like he has Marge splurge out for lobster because they're having him around and he wants to make a good impression. Boy, does that backfire?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of. Like I said, like you got Frank. Yeah, and Frank Grimes. I mean, you could. If you're being honest, he is kind of being a bit of a dick there.
Frank is a self-righteous douchebag. Like, quite frankly.
I mean, yeah,
but
you can kind of see that he has a right about several things, and he has had to work for everything he's had.
Yeah, but he's still such an unlikable person. Like, he is kind of hateable.
Yeah, definitely.
He is bitter and just cunty. We all know people like that.
Yep, we do.
We do. That we do.
Another good episode.
You're one, Deantay.
Yep.
No, I kid.
Another good episode is Rosebud, which is probably one of the episodes that tries to actually humanize Mr. Burns and does pretty well.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And also, it's got the Ramones in it.
Yes, that's right. It does.
In fact, oh man, the guest stars that the Simpsons had. That one episode had Michael Jackson.
Yeah, my favorite was still in Viva Nerd Flanders. When they're running away from everyone, the fucking Moody Blues pop out of nowhere, and one of them pulls a knife out on them. I think it's John. No, it's either Ray or John. Ray, I'm blanking on his last name, which is terrible because I'm a big Moody Blues fan. But yes, and Nights in White Satin starts playing in the background. God, that just makes me laugh so hard that every time. But yeah. You were saying.
Yeah, there's that one episode that's got Michael Jackson in it, which is very good.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, there's also Homerpalooza, which has Smashing Pumpkins in it.
Yeah. And Peter Frampton.
And Cypress
And
Hill.
one of my favorite gags where Peter Frampton orders an orchestra and Cypress Hill decide they must have ordered it while high. And then they ask if they know Insane in the Brain. And then it cuts to them rehearsing it with the fucking orchestra. And it's so hilarious.
And Peter Frampton is...
Honestly, it makes the song like a million times better, and that's a terrible song, but yeah.
And Peter Frampton goes, hey, that's my orchestra.
I don't like Peter Frampton.
Anyway.
I could never get into him. But yeah.
And then, of course, there's Flaming Homer, which has Aerosmith in it.
Yeah, which is also a great episode. I like the little Phantom of the Opera parody, where Homer goes totally nuts and he's up in the rafters. And he's dressed like the Phantom with the cape and everything.
And he just blows the secret on what goes into the Flaming Moe.
Right before Moe was about to make a shit ton of money from it and give Homer some of it. Because he felt bad.
And another good Homer and Moe episode is the one where Moe gets Homer into boxing.
Yes. And there's the gag about they used to call me...
Kid Gorgeous.
What was it? Yeah, and then they called me Kid. So. At various states of him being uglier and uglier as he gets more beat up.
And then, yeah, and the climax of the
And
episode
him jetpacking away with Homer.
Oh yeah,
After
that's
he's
right.
nearly beaten to death by, what's his name?
Cassius Clay.
I thought
No.
it was Mike Tyson.
Oh, it's
No.
supposed to be a version of Mike Tyson.
Yeah, but he's called
Tyson.
Cassius Clay, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Or is that a real person that I'm
No,
conflating
Greg
with
Tatum.
the Simpsons
Cassius
character?
Clay was Muhammad Ali's
Jodie
Christian
Tatum,
name.
that was it.
Oh. I'm conflating Muhammad Ali and this guy then. It's not Cassius Clay. Oh, you know what I mean. It's that character.
Jodie Tatum.
Oh, Dredrick Tatum.
Yes.
Yeah, that was his name.
Who shows up. Did he show up other times, or did he just make such an impression in that episode?
He showed
that
up
I
every
think
now
he
and
did?
again.
Right, I thought so. Same with McBain and the guy who plays him.
Rainier Wolf.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a little thing. If you take all the clips, all the
Yes,
McBain
it
clips
actually
and-
tells the story.
yeah, all the McBain
Yeah.
clips in the background. There's actually a whole movie there.
My
Yeah.
favorite gag, swank, 20 times more addictive than marijuana. That's my favorite McBain clip gag.
Mine is Mendoza.
Do they still do? They stopped doing McBain stuff, didn't they? And Rainer Wolfcastle stuff.
He just became
wonder when
another
they stopped.
Springfield resident at the end. where I was
Oh,
up
really?
to.
I
Yeah,
think
he
one
had
of,
a house there and all that.
I think one of my favorite Rainier Wolfcastle bits though is the one where he's got his own talk show. I
Oh God.
say hello to my music guy Scully. That's a nice jacket, Scully. It makes you look like a homosexual. Boo! Oh, maybe you are all homosexuals.
Yes, that's great. I love one sprung to mind and I've just lost it, and it wasn't one we'd mentioned yesterday either. But it was a good one. Someone else go. I'll try and think what it was.
Right. Phew.
Oh, come on, great episodes.
I would have, aside from Simpsons roasting on an open fire, which was one of the better Christmas episodes?
The one where Bart gets caught shoplifting. That's the best one.
Marge Be Not Proud, yeah.
Yeah. That was a
And
really good
that's a toss-up in terms of episodes that are holiday-themed. That one and Bart Ruins Thanksgiving are tied. Those two are fucking awesome, perfect episodes.
Yeah.
And they're both fucking painful to watch.
And then, of course,
both
there's
pretty,
all the Treehouse of Horror episodes. I think we'd all agree shitting is the best one.
No. No, I still like the wall one where he goes into the
Homer Cube, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I just like the shitting just because it is such a masterful parody of The Shining.
It's good. It's good.
Where do you think, Marge? All I need now is a title. I was thinking something along the lines of no TV and no beer make Homer something.
Is that?
Don't mind if I do.
It is great. Don't get me wrong. Is that the Treehouse of Horror episode that ends with the parody of One from a chorus line?
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, because
That is.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my favorite gag from a Treehouse of Horror.
I also love Dial Z for Zombie.
Yeah. Although I say that, I can't remember how the parody version goes. I mention it now. I just have the actual song stuck in my head.
Dial Z for Zombie is also great because Bart resurrects zombies while he's wearing a copy of Michael Jackson's Thriller.
That's great.
And also Homer shoots Zombie Flanders and Bart, or maybe Lisa says, "You shot Zombie Flanders," and Homer's like,
Was it a zombie?
Yeah. I am very fond of the one where Homer sells a soul for a donut.
"Oh yes, oh yeah, devil."
And then Ned Flanders is the devil.
And he gets the jury of the damned, which consists of, what was it? Laura.
Laura Bush.
No, not Laura Bush.
Right.
It's that lady.
No.
It's that lady who killed her husband with an axe.
Oh, Lizzie Borden.
Lizzie Borden. That was it. Lizzie Borden, John Dillinger, Richard Nixon, Blackbeard, and the starting lineup of, I think, the '87 Philadelphia Flyers.
Yes. Now, why are they evil? Did they just botch a championship or something?
I'd have to look. You know what? I'm gonna look that up now.
So I wonder why they're there. It's just so funny. There's them and Nixon being there. It's just like, what?
I'm not evil. And I'm not. In fact, I just wrote a book. No wait, I'm not.
To be clear, Nixon was actually not evil. Kissinger was the evil one.
Yeah.
Or is the evil one since he's still alive.
Also, Lyndon Johnson to an extent.
Oh, yeah. Lyndon Johnson, the guy who, when he was a senator, voted against a bill to outlaw lynching. I'm not even kidding. And yet, because of his welfare programs, the left love him.
And this was the guy who put in the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah. God damn it. By the way, I still have one stuck in my head.
Oh, wait. The jury of the damned also includes Benedict Arnold and its then 76 Philadelphia Flyers.
Right. I still don't know why they're there.
Also,
Benedict
John
Arnold
Wilkes
being there is funny.
and John Wilkes Booth.
Ah, yeah. Right.
Okay, here we are. This Philadelphia Flyers. So it's 72 to 79. They were known as the Broad Street Bullies. Okay, this is
Oh, so they were just thinking.
during the 72.
Pardon.
The 72-73 season, the Flyers shed the mediocre expansion team label and became the intimidating Broad Street Bullies, a nickname coined by Jack Chevalier and Peter Caffone of the Philadelphia Bowling.
Oh, Jack Chevalier. Okay. I know that name. I'm trying to remember why.
After a 3-1 brawling victory over the Atlanta Flames that led Chevalier to write in his game account, the image of the Fighting Flyers spreading gradually around the NHL, and people are dreaming of wild nicknames. They're the Mean Machine, the Bullies of Broad Street, and Freddy's Philistines. Caffone wrote in the accompanying headline, Broad Street Bullies muscle Atlanta. That same month, Clark was the youngest player at the time in NHL history to be named team captain, replacing Ed Van Impe, I think that's how it's pronounced. Rick McLeish became the first Flyer to score 50 goals in a season, and the Flyers have recorded their first winning season. I think I'm beginning to get why they're on the jury of the damned.
Yeah.
They sold their souls to be a good team.
Still, the greatest ever reference to a sports team is from an old Opie and Anthony episode where they do a bit about Bill O'Reilly's mother having sex with black men. And one of the lines Jim Norton has is, the Harlem Globetrotters just shit in my cunt. Or something like that. I'm not... Which reminds me of a really, really offensive Jimmy Carr joke. How do you get a gay man to have sex with a fat woman? Shit in her cunt.
Oh my god.
It's much better with his delivery. There's the episode with Burns' son, played by Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, that was great.
Who is the king of one?
Great episode.
Not
Yeah.
what's his name? That the hipsters like.
Mitch Hedberg. Mitch, what's his name? Who always sounded really bored and always talked like this, and I'm doing my impression of him, man. He was funny, but Rodney Dangerfield much funnier.
Yeah, it was just so much more animated. I mean,
Hipsters who are butthurt about this can fucking blow me.
yeah.
But only if they're attractive women.
which is sadly not most of them.
I don't think that's any of them.
I did not. Think
All the ones who are female identify as like gender fluid demigirls or something like that.
Another
I'm a trigender pyrofox.
Another good episode.
A
of Camp
fucking
Krusty.
cyanide and happiness short.
Oh yeah,
Huh?
Camp Krusty.
That's so good. So good.
Yeah.
The fuck was sad. But yes, no, that's a great episode.
Hey, for one, like Bart actually gets to go to Camp Krusty just because Homer wants him, decides to just let him go, even though his grades were completely shit.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. There's also Bart gets an F, which is probably one of the more feels
Yeah.
episodes.
That's a great episode. An episode that I had wholly forgotten about until one of you guys mentioned it last night. Simpsons Tide. That's actually really funny. I watched that last night. I had forgotten about that one.
So I love that one. That was one of the first Simpsons
I-
episodes I saw.
I love how Homer knows how to say It's my first day in like 4 or 5 different languages, including Penguin. Also, when he's surrounded by like 4 or 5 different hostile groups, none of them are the Russians. And the international incident he's created was by going into Russian waters. There are penguins there. There are Vikings there. There are no Russians there. There are the Chinese. There's like some Spanish-speaking country. But the Russians aren't there.
And then,
I wouldn't call it quite a top-tier episode, but it is a very funny episode.
and then there's the part where they accuse him of being a communist because there's that one photo where he's dressed like a Russian Cossack, and Lisa says, I told him that photo would come back to haunt him.
My Homer's not a communist. He may be a da-da-da-da-da and a communist, but he's not a prostitute. I'm forgetting exactly what he says, but he rails off a few things and
an
says
idiot,
communist.
and a pig,
Yes.
and a communist, but he is not a porn star.
Oh, porn star, not prostitute. I fucked that up. Well, he is also not a prostitute. Who would pay Homer Simpson for sex?
Oh, man.
I'm sure someone would. I'm sure someone masturbates to thinking about paying Homer Simpson for
Oh, my
sex.
God. I don't know who that person is.
That's probably Moe's secret fantasy.
Oh,
Moe and Flanders, they share this fantasy of wanting to
no.
hire Homer as a prostitute.
Oh, Jesus.
To be fair, Moe could probably pay to have sex with Homer, but he would have to pay him in beer. I am surprised in the episode where Homer prostitutes himself for beer has not happened yet. That is the degree to which the episode has sunk in my esteem.
You may have just given them that idea now.
Oh, Lord.
God, I hope not. If that happens, I'll
Yeah, we're
sue them
coming
for
after
stealing
you.
my idea. I'll sue them out of so much money the show gets cancelled finally. And then I will be declared the hero of
Something.
Of the internet.
I'll be made ruler of the world
Oh, God.
All right.
as thanks.
I will. Okay, well, I call Minister of Defense.
Against whom?
Whomever I decide is a threat. I just want the ability to nuke people.
I'll
But I
just
ruled.
leave.
Bad luck, Deantay. You're the court jester.
I don't know. I think Deantay would make a good interior minister.
Nah, bro. You know what Deantay would really be good for?
No. Whatever it is, no.
Minister of Education.
No, fuck off.
How about housing?
No.
You could be the Attorney General.
No.
You're in charge of law.
Oh, God help you.
You just say yes, whatever Sam wants to do is illegal. That's your job, and you get paid a shit ton of money and have a nice house.
So I get paid to lie.
Yeah, yes. Basically, isn't that what AGs do? They just say, yeah, what they're doing is legal, whether it is or isn't.
Oh, Jesus.
Or just
No, Deantay, you can run the censorship board.
Oh, fuck.
Cut to Deantay giving fucking Legend of the Overfiend a G rating and going, yeah, kids can watch this. No, you guys do know that kids saw Legend of the Overfiend back in the day, right? Because it got the kids section in the animation. I still have to say that must have been less traumatic than the poor kids who, like, at 5 or 6 saw Grave of the Fireflies. And also, you know, Grave of the... You know, in Japan, they may still well do this, movies often as double headers. So you would go and see 2 movies together. Double features, yeah. You know what the double feature with Totoro was?
Grave of the Fireflies.
Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing those 2 one after the other.
Wow.
Are you trying to.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which order would be worse. Totoro, then Grave of the Fireflies, or Grave of the Fireflies, then Totoro.
I'd go with Grave of the Fireflies and Totoro because then at least Totoro
Yeah.
makes you feel good afterward.
No, I think that might be the worst one because you'd be just so miserable that going from seeing children starve to death to seeing children being relatively happy in a charming, whimsical film, that seems worse to me.
Yeah. That's a bad combination. You can't make it work no matter which way you go.
You really can't. I mean, God.
Oy.
It's hard to think of a worse combination of Ghibli films. Except like Only Yesterday and anything else, because I love Only Yesterday, but that movie, like, watched with anything else, like, would just, yeah, that would be weird. You know Daisy Ridley's in the dub of Only Yesterday?
What?
Daisy Ridley and Dev Patel played the two leads in it. And for whatever reason, Dev Patel kept his British accent, but Daisy Ridley didn't in the dub.
I'm gonna bet she does a bad job of hiding in it.
No, she did a fine job. It was an okay dub. That movie loses something dubbed because it was animated in two different ways. Where the stuff when she's a child was animated like normal anime, that is to say it was animated and then dubbed. The stuff when she's an adult was they recorded it and then animated it around that for the lip flaps to match with that.
Okay.
Which helps make the two time periods that it's set in seem different. I don't know if you guys have either of you guys seen that movie?
I'll have to.
No.
I'll have to get to that at some point.
It's an Isao Takahata one, and it's actually much better than Grave of the Fireflies, believe it or not.
Have to check it out.
Another. Okay. Das
Yes.
Bus. That was another good episode.
Das Bus, yes. My favorite is when Lisa tries to convince everyone that she's enjoying eating the slime off the rock much more than they could possibly be enjoying eating the fucking boar. The wild
I love the end of
boar
that
they've
episode.
roasted.
With
Oh, speaking of Lord of the Flies reference, I remember in Camp Krusty where after
Yes.
they take over the camp and Kent goes into to meet with the leader, and Homer's been losing weight, getting his hair back, and as Kent's going there, Homer's thinking to himself, "Don't be the boy,
Please
be the boy."
don't be the boy. Please don't be the boy. Don't be the boy. Go! Hair falls out.
And he gets fat again.
Also, the episode, I can't remember the name of it, where Bart gets the fake ID.
Yes, and he Nelson, Martin, and Bill
And Milhouse go to the World Fair, which happened years ago, get stuck with no money, and Bart has to become a courier to try and make money and get back. Courier's fucking eyeballs to China and is seen by Skinner.
And also along the way they end up at Branson, Missouri, and Nelson.
And Nelson is crying because Andy Williams did Moon River. I love how Nelson is a fan of Andy Williams and Robert Goulet. They're weird things for him to like, but they're also in character for him to like. And to be fair, Moon River is a great song. Robert Goulet was pretty fucking great. I've never heard any other Andy Williams, though, other than Moon River.
You probably heard that Christmas song Andy Williams did.
Did he do one?
It's the
I don't know.
most wonderful time of the year.
Okay, I have. I did not know he did a version of that, or the version, or whatever. I didn't know that was him.
Well, it's considered the definitive version.
Okay, I didn't know that was him. But yeah. Right. How long have we been recording at this point, by the way?
That's fun.
Yeah, a little over 2 hours, I'd say.
Let's find out. Almost
Just
2
curious.
hours.
Uh,
Okay.
no, Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna break 3 hours with this recording session.
Not likely, but
No, there was a episode I remembered after we stopped. It was a home in Flanders Central one, which was good. And that's when Flanders first opens the Leftorium.
Yes.
That was a good episode. And Homer made the wishbone thing.
Yeah, when Ned failed, was that it?
Yeah. And Homer wished that.
Yeah. That's great. And then everyone needs left-handed shit.
Yeah.
Like someone needs left-handed pencils or something, remember?
Yeah.
Or pens.
oh yeah.
And Burns being left-handed is funny.
Oh yes, the one where Mr. Burns runs for governor.
That's gold, yeah. The one with the three-eyed fish. You mentioned that
Blinky.
briefly, very briefly at the end of the last attempt.
I just really love all those Citizen Kane references in that episode.
I thought no, it was Rosebud that had all the Citizen Kane references. I thought.
Well, that episode too.
Okay, they both do. I have to confess, I've still not seen Citizen Kane. It's on the list.
That's okay. I haven't either.
List. What?
Right. Have you seen it, Deantay?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it as good as everyone says it is, Deantay?
It's all right. I don't think it quite lives up to the hype, though.
Yeah, but no movie could. And that's the thing. Most of those great classic Hollywood movies, the only one that really even isn't slightly. Most of them are slightly disappointing the first time you see them, and then afterwards you see them again and go, okay, yeah, these are great movies, but you're slightly disappointed the first time because they don't quite live up to being the best movie ever.
Yeah, true.
The one that I didn't find disappointing was Casablanca, and that's not because I didn't go, oh, this isn't the best movie ever, because I did go that, but it's just it's so entertaining and so tightly written that you don't actually give a fuck that it's not quite as good as everyone says, you know?
Yeah.
Also, it's got Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah. By the way, the French guy who Bogart had, there's that Bogart wanders off with at the end of the movie. Yeah. French policeman. I forget his name. That dude is totally not straight. He is absolutely bisexual and absolutely into Bogart's character, probably. Come on, he's too flamboyant to be straight.
Probably not.
But yes, God damn, so many great Simpsons episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just impossible. It's about to list all of them off. I mean,
yeah. I think we've listed quite a few.
We have. I actually like that one when Lisa finds out the truth about Jebediah Springfield.
Yes, Whacking Day.
No, not Whacking Day.
Different episode, Sam.
No, that is Whacking Day, I'm sure of it.
It's
not Whacking Day. Whacking Day is when Bart gets expelled, and then he finds out that Whacking Day was invented as an excuse to beat up the Irish.
Yeah.
I swear it's Whacking Day, this one.
No, this was...
No, because she goes, Whacking Day is evil, and then that's how she discovers it about Jeremiah, isn't it?
No, because it was that... She goes to that museum and Donald Sutherland's character's there.
I still thought that was part of Whacking Day.
It's not.
No.
Oh, is it The Front? No, The Front's a different episode. Fuck. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. Yeah. I didn't even know that was Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, the guy who runs the History Museum in Springfield.
Right. Oh, no, you're right. It's a day just celebrating him. Jebediah Springfield.
Yeah.
It's not Whacking Day.
Oh, Lemon of Troy. That is one of the best Homer lines ever. Where where Homer and all the other dads come to pick up the boys, and Bart tells them that some kids from Shelbyville stole a lemon tree, and Homer's like, "Wait, they have the lemon tree?" And then they go to the impound lot where the Shelbyville Homer where it's holding it, and Homer's like, "Give us back that lemon tree. It's been in our town since our forefathers and our forefathers." Yada yada. He says, "Well, if you think you're gonna get it back, you must be pretty stupid. Stupid like a fox."
That has my favorite Millhouse thing, where Millhouse meets the other Millhouse from Shelbyville. It starts crying. Goes, this is what it feels like when doves cry. It's like really quoting Prince. And of course he would. Of course he would quote that Prince song. Great song, by the way. Ridiculous guitar solos. But hey, it's Prince. Of course, if it had guitar solos, they were ridiculously awesome.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, another funny line is when Millhouse's dad talks about how much he hates Shelbyville, and Millhouse's mom goes, "Wait, I'm from Shelbyville," and Millhouse's dad,
I know it. I hate it. Another thing that I love about that episode where they all go off in the car, but in those friends, is how it has the take your parents to school day, kids to work day things that Skinner made up so he could get off work a day early because the airplane had fucked up his day.
Well, fuck the big ticket, so he couldn't go on vacation when he planned.
Yeah. That's just really funny to me. It's great. I think I'm running out of shit to say.
I am. I am too.
I mean, we have talked about The Simpsons for like over 5 hours over the last 2 days, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
3.5 hours of it is not there, but we still have. Yeah. So it makes sense that we're running out of it.
Oh my god. Yeah. Which just sucks because, oh man, the stuff we recorded yesterday that was so gold, that probably would have been our magnum opus.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, I was an idiot. I did not check the settings.
Yeah. Much better. I'm sure this is going to be a perfectly acceptable episode, but compared to yesterday's thing.
Yeah, that series was great.
Yeah, it was.
Gendo.
It really was.
It was fun to have Deantay on the show again. He's always awesome.
Dude.
Yes, thank you.
Gendo from Ava is definitely a Nazi.
You know what? I got it. That's what we'll do for next week's episode. We'll talk about which cartoon characters are actually Nazis.
We should do that. Deantay, do you want to be back on for it? Nah, seriously, we'll do this. This sounds like a funny idea.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. I'm actually going to be busy from this weekend to next, so I probably won't be able to make it though.
It's cool. We'll do it.
We can at least keep this idea on the back burner.
It would be funny as a completely ridiculous episode where we just go through cartoon characters. Trying to think about. Dude.
What?
Dude.
Yeah.
Brett, you know who is definitely a Nazi?
Oh.
Princess Caroline from BoJack Horseman.
Ooh.
as is Mr. Peanut Butter. Nazi Mr. Peanut Butter. Okay, I don't think we can top Nazi Mr. Peanut Butter. Let's end on that note.
No, we cannot. So, be here next week for another edition. Check out Deantay's channel.
Yep, thanks for having me too, guys.
Yep. And remember the good years of The Simpsons, because that's what we want to do too.
Yep. And remember, Mr. Peanut Butter is definitely a Nazi.